live until about 3 minutes before the show starts. So yeah, we are live. So let me share this. Share this. Nobody ain't calling in. Hello? Hello? All right. Y'all bear with us. We must start this show in about 2 minutes. Hold on. Let me get this one. All right. So yeah. So it should be shared and tagged on your page. Welcome everybody on the Facebook uh, viewers. We're about to start the radio show in about 1 minute. So I'm going to switch the microphones up in about 30 seconds. So you might not be able to hear me until the show starts. But then we'll be able to start the show real quick. Let me switch the microphones right now.
And I am sharing to all of my pages, and I think we are good.
LP 103, Winterville, Aden, Grifton, Southside, Greenville, North Carolina. I came to deal with this addiction in me. Lord, I want to change. I can't stay the same. But the sins that in my vein, it's trying its best just to kill me.
Yes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the UTurn Show. I am your host, Richard Taylor. Welcome to all of our radio listeners, all of our social media listeners. We want to welcome you in and thank God for another week that He's allowed us to be here on the air here at Awesome Radio 106.9. If you haven't been to the website, go to the website www.wbislp.awesomeradio.org, where you can download all of our listening apps on Google Play, Alexa, and the Apple Store. Also, if you are in the Greenville area, the shows are live and on GPAT 23 TV, also on Roku TV as well. And also, if you do want to call in, we do have a call in line live. So if you do want to call in, please feel free. Let me put that number up there real quick. All right, so we have the number up there. Today we have a special guest, my sister. I have known her for a few months, I would say, personally for a few months, but I've been following her on Facebook. So she has a lot of interesting perspectives. So I am going to introduce to some and present to others, Miss Karina Atkinson. How you doing?
Hi, I am great. How are you?
I am doing great, doing great. Thanks for asking. and we're going to get right into it. Um, and just tell the audience a little bit about who you are, where you from, and your background information.
Okay. Karina Atkinson, also known as Rena Speaks. I'm from Goldsboro, North Carolina. Born and raised in good old Wayne County. Went to Southern Wayne High School. Um, After that, I went to UNC Pembroke, where I graduated in 2016 with my bachelor's in arts. I've always had a love for performing arts. Always have had a love for the faith, music. I'm really just a big bubble of personality. I'm a writer, I'm a speaker, and one of my biggest things is poetry, reading, writing, video games. I really feel like I'm, the quirky girl.
Uh-huh.
I love to laugh, have fun, eat food, Chick-fil-A. And in my spare time, I like to read, and write and research random topics sometimes. Or go be with family and friends. Family and friends are very valuable to me. um
Hmm.
the things that I do, things that I love as a motivational speaker, and those things I always say were birthed during my time in college. I was nothing but a college girl, church girl. And at the time I was like, okay, let me come out my shell. I used to be very shy, actually. People don't know I haven't always been outspoken, and some do know, because used to in church when they give me the mic to do something, do the little Easter speeches, it would be speak up, and now I can't be quiet. So, but I love it, love it. I'm grateful that God stirred up some of those gifts in college through the organizations and involvement that I was in. But yeah, Rena Speaks began as just my stage name as a poet. And eventually the things that I got involved in, student government, things like that, brought that advocacy, philanthropy, community service, and mentoring aspect. And then
Hmm.
my love for the youth and working with the youth. So just little by little, God just opened things up. So when I look back, I'm like, I see what you were doing. So now my hope is to just be just all that He's called me to be. And that's literally, dot, 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 whatever's next. So,
Okay. So you grew up, we have like a similar background. So you said you grew up as the daughter of a minister.
yes, yes, I
Right.
did.
So how was that as far
Um,
as your childhood? How was it?
So, he started preaching when I was 10 years old.
Hmm.
I remember for his initial sermon, the church was packed. We grew up in a family church, so everybody has the same last name. Everybody's related. And so, since then, he has definitely taken on a unique path. He definitely has a unique voice and a unique message, and it's not a popular one. And so, with that has come um, a lot of different feelings and emotions. I will say it was the first time, even though I didn't know what it was the first time I witnessed preference and favoritism in the church, as far as it relates to who you want to hear and what you prefer to hear. And I'll be honest, that wasn't always the easiest to witness, but it helped me really understand also how much we should honor and respect those who decide to stand on that platform, because it is not easy. I see now why, and it's a scripture he often references. I think it's in the book of James, fear not the faces. Now I see why, that writer had to give that encouragement, because it's not easy to stand and proclaim something that you feel is truth. And so, yeah, the irony of me being here today, having to sometimes use that same scripture to encourage myself. But yeah, I've definitely have had to witness the good, bad, and the ugly of being a child of someone who is in ministry. So.
Okay. So we're gonna get to the I guess the why you have to use that scripture in a few minutes. But you also mentioned that you were kind of quiet in high school and you got bullied, right?
Yes.
Did you get bullied? How was how did that affect you, in your later years?
It was interesting because in elementary and middle school, I had no issues with anybody. I just always did well in school, never got in any trouble, and I didn't know then, but I now know now, why and what. So, um,
Hmm.
going to high school, I had to have a lot of adjustments, and I started acting out. I really didn't know who I was. I knew who I wanted to be. You know, I wanted to be the Nickelodeon kid, the kid on Disney Channel. I wanted to get
Okay.
cast for those movies and stuff. I wanted to dance and sing, and it was just nothing that I saw within my reality. So trying to be myself in as it relates to how everybody else is trying to fit in made me stand out even worse. So
Okay.
it's like I didn't really have a lot of friends. I didn't join any clubs. A lot of people think I actually had someone tell me that they were surprised to find out I wasn't popular in high school because of what they saw in college and after. I was homecoming queen in college. I would have never been voted even prom queen in high school. I don't know what
Okay.
it was about me. Maybe they saw in me just what now has come out. Um,
Uh-huh.
the gifts and whatever, the anointing, whatever people say.
Uh-huh.
That time, people just always bothered me. I was really the church girl. Like I ain't even cuss. And I had one girl come up to me in the bathroom. I heard you call me a B, and I'm like, I don't even cuss. Like fighting on the bus. And I'm like, Lord. And I was just like, is no one listening to me? I got kicked out of a classroom in 11th grade because it was all boys. I was the only girl. They would slap box each other, wanted to be
uh,
blown in my face. And I got kicked out. So I said, okay, it's not making sense. But years later, it took me a while to heal from a lot of my childhood because
mhm.
I didn't have external issues. My home life was great. My parents were great. My neighborhood and environment growing up was great, but it was internal for me. Low self esteem, low self worth, comparison. I just could not figure out why I wasn't getting the attention that I wanted so badly and why I wanted it. But I had to really just, at some point grow out of it. But now I know, and it actually was told to me by my pastor, you had to experience things so that you can help other people and speak for those because no one spoke up for you. And you know what that feels like. And that's why now
Mhm.
you speak for others. So, yes, it makes
Okay.
sense now. But yeah.
All right. And so we talked about you went off to college, right? So most people who grow up in the church and they get to college, they kind of get a little wild. But you
Mm.
said you never kind of strayed. You kind of stayed on the straight and I- you kind of stayed in church. In
Um,
church, let's say that.
yeah, so initially, I know a lot of young people, soon as I can, I ain't going to church. But me, as soon as I got to the town of Pembroke, I said, well, where can I go on Sunday? 'Cause I'm going to church. And so at the time I went to a place called Resurrection. And I loved it. I loved it. I went there almost throughout my whole college years. The friends I made were church kids. Most of the time on Saturday nights, we went to church. I went to a few parties here and there. Tried to date a little bit. But yeah, I was a late bloomer. I ain't start cutting up until the tail end. And then after I
Okay.
graduated. So yeah.
Okay. All right. And let's talk about that because I think you said you got into a relationship, right?
Hmm.
And you mentioned something about religious abuse. So, could you give our audience a overview, actually, because actually that's the first time I ever heard something like that. So,
Yeah.
what did you experience in the form of religious abuse, and explain what that was?
So, and this is interesting because this honestly, I've never talked about this. So this is the first platform where I'm really going to go in detail about this.
Okay.
And some people might remember, some people may not, but back in 2014, I was in college at the time, and so I really had a strong desire for a relationship, and God kept telling me no. And at
Mm-hmm.
the time, I was like, I didn't really get it at first until someone someone that I was a friend with was like, yeah, I just don't think that's just what you need because every time I would try to talk to somebody, it would just fall off. Then I met this gentleman. He was a preacher's son, and I actually grew up knowing his family and knowing his father, and I actually admired his father, like literally one of
Mm-hmm.
my favorite grown up. So it was kind of cute because his family knew my family. So it was like, whatever. But I was like, Lord, and I literally remember in my dorm room, I prayed, if this is not meant for me, take him away. And when he did not fall off, I took that as a sign of, oh, this must be it.
Uh-huh.
I did not know I was in for the identity crisis of a lifetime because at that time I had friends who were apostolic. In the and to give like a background for those who don't know what that is, for some, they don't believe in women wearing jewelry, makeup, or pants and some other things. So at that
Okay.
time I was hanging around some church kids like that, and I
So
was
were you
like,
apostolic or was he apostolic?
he was. I was
Okay.
not. And I had
Okay.
friends at the time who were. So when I met him, I did not know he was going to try to push me into that. And so I had, I wanted to say it's 2 Timothy 2:9. And I remember it because I was thumped over the head with the Bible. I was
Mhm.
told to take my earrings out. And a lot of people are surprised by this story because they're like, Karina, we know you. You dealt with this? Yes.
Mhm.
Told me not to wear pants. His family didn't go to the beach because people are naked. People, he said his family don't go to the movies because people have sex in there. Yeah, it was a lot. And then when it became abusive was when, and I call it religiously abusive because had never anything to do with me, what I was called to do, my gifts. And it never had anything to do with my heart, who I was as a woman. It was always what I wore, how I wore my hair, and it was just always scriptures being thrown at me. And this is not, just a disclaimer, this is not to say that those who decide to devout themselves to God through clothing and how they wear their hair, to not wear jeans and go certain places, if that is how you feel, that is, this is no judgment or saying that that is an incorrect theology or doctrine. To each their own. But for me, I couldn't understand. I was like, God, are you wanting this for me? You bullying me right now? Am I being pranked?
Mhm.
But I don't see it as wrong, but you ironically placed this person in my life when I asked, and I stopped to ask to make sure it was your will. They didn't leave when I said if they are removed, if they are no good, to remove them. Everyone around me dresses this way because this is my circle right now. I'm like, is this how you want me to be? I saw all the wrong things except
Mhm.
what I should have saw, and what I should have saw is God is not the author of confusion. I remember I came home when I was away at college. I would dress how I wanted to. When I would take pictures, no one knows this. When I would take pictures, I would take my earrings out. When I would come home, if I knew I was gonna go out around the town, I
Uh-huh.
would stand in my closet like, should I just go ahead and wear jeans because I might run into his family? I just had this fear that came
Mm.
from the manipulation, the abuse, and so when I ran for homecoming queen, I had to put out flyers and stuff. And in my flyers, I wore earrings, and he told me I was leading other women astray. I had
Mm.
won my very first pageant. I was Miss. I was a part of the African Student Organization, and I won Miss ASO. He told me I was participating in Vanity. I was teaching Vacation Bible School. He told me I wasn't authorized to teach. So you see, everything that God was trying to eventually build me to be, Rena Speaks,
Uh-huh.
somehow wrong. But eventually, praise God, we left, but we left with depression. So
Okay. And so how did you get out of and hello Felicia, how you doing? She's on there every week. Welcome. Now, how did you get out of that depression?
so when I decided to put my foot down and leave that relationship, which it did not end well, it put me in a place to the identity crisis didn't end there because now I was confused. I was like, God, what just happened? Is there something wrong with me? Because at that point I thought God hated me and something was wrong with me because I could not seem to do what I thought he was trying to get me to do. And I had really started to lose myself a little bit. I felt better because I was like, well, at least I don't have that pressure over my head to wear certain things. But
Mm-hmm.
I was like, after that, my aunt had passed away of cancer. And then another family member close to me had gotten diagnosed with cancer. I had a large load in college, and my senior year comes, and God finally because I had a series of dreams like after that, just showing me stuff. And eventually he finally told me, I had to put your identity to the ultimate test because I need you to be able to be who you are regardless. And
Okay.
I was like,
Okay.
you couldn't have just told me that.
Nah, that ain't how it
You
works.
know,
That's not how it works.
yeah, I was like, I guess that's how you felt like that was the best way to get that, across. But all right, God. But yeah, ultimately, the depression led to me failing classes my senior year. And 2 days before my graduation from college, I found out I was not going to walk. And so that's when I started to kind of just go. I went home, decided to do an extra semester so I could graduate.
Okay.
That healing process began. But yeah, definitely dealt with depression.
All right. So when did you start, I guess, speaking? Speaking poetry, um, encouragement, all of those things. So when did Karina become Rena Speaks?
Ironically, the same year I met him, 2014. The very first time I performed poetry was for the Miss ASO pageant in 2014, and I took on the name Marina Speaks in 2015.
Mm.
And started doing open mics and events on campus. And then from there, when I graduated fall of 2016, continued to do it. Pretty much put myself out there and traveling in 2017. And then in 2020, I officially launched Rena Speaks as a brand,
Okay.
and continuing to receive bookings and things of that nature. So really, UNC Pembroke on that campus in 2014 is where it all started.
Okay. And we're gonna go back to the church because I see, you very strong in your faith and you a defender of the faith. But also, it's a lot of things that go on that sometimes put the church in a bad light, right?
Yeah.
And so there is something that, and I have to ask you this. We didn't discuss it before the show, but there was some. It's a pastor I know who said that Christians shouldn't listen to secular music, right? And and we only got 53 seconds before the break, so we probably I know I'm gonna have to wait for your answer, but just to give you a preview, so you can be thinking about when we come back to break, what do you think about that? I think there was a video where Juanita Bynum was said, okay, you don't listen to the secular music, but then she had a videotape of herself dancing to secular music. So what is yeah, well, what is your opinion on that, and why? Do you have that opinion? But we're gonna be right back. We're gonna hold that answer to the break. But you are listening to 106.9 FM. We got a lot of questions. We're gonna go a little bit deeper now. We just getting started, so y'all will bear with us. Give us about 13 seconds, I think, and then we're gonna continue on here at 106.9 FM. Yes, and we're back. It's a very short break here on Awesome Radio FM 106.9. Rena Speaks. Now tell me, what is your opinion on that as far
So,
as Christians listening to secular music?
I'm gonna just be very, honest. Okay. If something affects you, especially when it's something that you're not trying to continue to do or you don't want to be influenced to do, then you wouldn't put yourself around it. Okay. So if certain music does not help you grow or triggers an issue or triggers something that you're working on, whether it's music about sex, or if you're healing from a relationship, you can't listen to heartbreak songs. If you feel as though you can tell a message from music is affecting you, then take the accountability individually to steer from what you feel like should not go in your ear gates. Okay.
Okay.
That's the politically correct answer. Now, for me, I love old school jams. I'm very much
Uh,
old, so some stuff that just sounds toxic. I'm not really a fan of all the twerking music and overly
okay.
sexualized stuff, but I love good, well produced music, classics, 90s hip hop, R&B. I'm actually a huge West Coast hip hop fan.
West
Half
Coast.
the time I
Okay.
think I'm from Compton, and I kind of want to work with Dr. Dre and Kendrick Lamar. So that's just me. That's yep,
Okay, so
yep.
you don't have no problem with it. Now, I also saw you made a post about, we sometimes in the church call everything witchcraft, right?
Yeah.
Why did you what kind of led you to hit on
Okay.
that topic?
So one day, there's a group that I'm in. I think it's called Bibles and Girl Talk. And almost every day, and it's just I think it's only women in the group. And somebody posts, "What do you guys think about that? It looks demonic." And I'm like, everything is not demonic. She posted some bottles of essential oils and asked
Mhm.
was aromatherapy demonic. And I was like, okay, we're going to have to talk about this because everything is not demonic. It's just unfamiliar to you.
Okay.
Everything is not witchcraft. It's just unfamiliar to you. And everything's not new age. It's just new to you. I think that, one thing that, and I actually did comment on the post. I was like, this is just holistic health. Aromatherapy can very much help with respiratory health and other things of that nature. Scents and aromas are very much an everyday asset to our holistic health. It's really just that simple. And so I decided to make that post because I think that we have lost sight, first of all, of God, but also what God has placed here in this earth for us to have value, to gain value
Mhm.
from, rather. And so there's this corporate fear. And if I do recall, scripture says God has not given us the spirit of fear, but we are afraid of everything that we don't understand.
Mhm.
And also, too, a closed mind is not biblical. An open mind can lead to a sound mind, and a sound mind can lead to an open mind. Open mindedness is actually biblical. The book of Proverbs is the book of wisdom, and all throughout there, if you read it in its entirety, it constantly actually tells you to ask questions, seek wisdom, question authority, so that you can gain the understanding to know something that's presented to you. Because the issue that we have in the church is, and this kind of leads to why some young people leave the church, because when they have a question and they decide to be inquisitive, no one has the answers because, oh, I don't know what that is. But stay away from that. That don't make no sense to me. We don't play with that.
Mhm.
What is it? And sometimes it's not even what it is, it's what you do with it. Because, for example, sage.
Okay.
Is
Uh-oh.
sage demonic or the
That
use of it?
that's
Because you
that's
can actually cook with sage.
uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Candles are used to scent a room, but you can also use candles during a ritual or a seance. So is it the candle or what you do with the candle? We have
Preach.
to stop operating in fear because God has not given us the spirit of fear at all. And fear is literally a learned behavior. So you have to unlearn it. Why are you afraid of it? Is it because it'll expose something within you? And I feel like and since we're talking about the church, when someone comes to you and presents something to you that you run from, you've missed an opportunity to evangelize because you don't
Okay.
know anything to be able to listen to it and digest it without yourself being converted. If you know what you believe and you stand on it and you're firm about it, you cannot run from conversation with people who are different from you just because. Because if Jesus, who is, our example, if he
Mhm.
ran from every person who was from a different tribe, creed, or culture, because he didn't want to have a conversation, because he did not know what they were talking about, and did not have the patience, love, and concern to
Mm.
listen. Because you have to know someone's why in order to change their mind, first of all. And if you don't know what someone's why and you're just upset at the what just because you don't like it or you don't agree with it, where are you going to get to the part where you can change somebody's perspective? So you have to sometimes, just listen. That's why I'm okay with talking to people who are from different backgrounds and religions because, oh, you shouldn't associate, but I can handle myself intellectually.
Yeah.
What people in the church need to get to is to be able to handle themselves intellectually, but not just know what you believe, but why, so you can explain it. So when something is explained to you, you don't operate in ignorance. You operate in sound research, education, context, and information, so that when you give it, someone can understand you and you can understand them. Because there's a lot of people out here who are philosophically sound in what they stand on, and a lot
Mhm.
of church people who are supposed to be holding up the bloodstained banner and being the defender of the faith can't defend it because they cannot stand just as philosophically strong as the person who got receipts, articles, scriptures, and all of these other things to back what they believe. But all we can give is cliches. Well, the Bible says, and you don't read it beyond context. You don't know the
Yeah,
context of the scripture. So it's like, what are we afraid of? Is it witchcraft or is it just the unfamiliar
I'm
and the
familiar.
fear of the unknown? Everything's not demonic. You're just afraid.
Because I just want to give a quick example. Like I heard incense was bad growing up. Incense, we didn't burn incense. Incense was like witchcraft and demonic. But all throughout the scripture, I read Moses burned incense unto God. Aaron burned incense to the altar. Haven't I commanded the Levites to burn incense of sweet fragrance to the Lord? And they gave Jesus frankincense and myrrh, which is, sweet smelling fragrance. So I don't know. The only scripture I see is when God said, I reject your burnt offerings and your burnt offerings and your sweet smelling fragrance because you are not doing right. He didn't say so. Sometimes I think it's a teach or traditional thing where somebody takes one part of the scripture and said, well, no, God said don't burn incense, but he didn't say don't burn it. He said don't, I reject it because you are not living right. So I don't know, that's one thing I always like, that's been on my heart lately about the just little things like that I see in the scripture that I was taught that was bad, but God
Right.
specifically said, the priests and the Levites are supposed to burn incense. So.
Yeah. And honestly, and I will say this one part, what is God trying to show us? Because a lot of people, are saying new age, because it seems like a lot of new ideologies and philosophies are just coming out of the woodwork and, oh, don't be led astray. But what is God showing us so that we can reject it? And also what is God trying to bring us back to? Not everything
Okay.
that's introduced and reintroduced is to be rejected. Some things are supposed to be re-received. God knows the
Yeah,
difference.
just like Jesus. Yeah, Jesus was a he was a revolutionary. He was doing things that the people of his day, his religious Pharisees and Sadducees didn't understand. Like when he healed the man on the Sabbath, that was the rule. Oh, you can't heal nobody on the Sabbath. Okay, what's better for this man to go lame or for him to be healed? So
Right.
there's a lot of traditionalism, like traditionalism and religiosity. I think that's what you said, that a lot of people are a lot of young people are leaving the church because of that. Explain what that is.
I had saw a post from a young gentleman. He seemed a little frustrated about the church not reaching the youth and the young people. And so after seeing that post and chiming in on it, I literally heard the words, the young people and people in general aren't leaving the church, they're leaving traditionalism and religiosity.
1 second, we're going to come back right to that after we have our last break. 106.9 FM.
Time and season is everything. It's never too late to learn. You can now enroll at Kim International Bible College. Don't miss your chance to start on the journey you've been waiting for. This is an awesome way to grow and study the Word of God. We offer online day and evening classes. This is not only a great opportunity for leaders in the kingdom, but also an opportunity for any born again believer who just want to know more about the God you serve. We offer open enrollment, so therefore you can enroll at any time. Don't miss this opportunity. Have you been out of school for many years? No problem. Are you not good with technology? Not a problem. Don't allow your age to restrict you from your goal. We have students of all ages. We're a college that will work with you. That's our motto. We will work with you, but we expect you to do the work. So what are you waiting for? Contact us today. 252-446-0842. That's 252-446-0842. Or visit our website, www.kemibc.com. KEMIBC.com. 252-446-0842.
we are back here on 106.9 FM, Awesome Radio. Thank you guys for tuning in and listening. We have a very special guest, Miss Karina Atkinson, better known as Raina Speaks. One comment my mother says, study to show thyself approved, rightly dividing the word. I think she said that to your comment about, being able to speak with people who are of different faiths. So, religiosity and traditionalism.
Yes. I was referring to a post that a young gentleman had made about being frustrated that the church is not reaching the youth and that the youth are leaving the church. And so after pondering on that post, I literally heard the words, people and young people are not leaving the church, they're leaving traditionalism and religiosity. And so the best way I can explain what that means, just as I've meditated on it, traditionalism has been the way of doing things in a pattern and sticking to it because it's familiar, despite it no longer producing effectiveness. And the religiosity is the arrogance to believe that you must stand on the traditionalism in order to keep what you think is sacred, even though it's no longer sound. Therefore, when young people ask questions and want to understand or want to bring fresh ideas, they can't because traditionalism and religiosity takes away from fresh perspective. Because if you're holding on to the strategies, the tactics, to the things that worked, because we have to be honest. Um, you have to listen to the voice of God for instruction. What happens when He says something new that still goes along with the same word that you stood on and you don't shift? That's what's happening. And so, because young people want to have a group of like-minded people. Young people want to fellowship, and young people who don't feel like they can, they isolate. So the desire amongst young people to fellowship is there because they're always looking to fit in. They're always looking to find their tribe or vibe with their tribe or looking for a group of like minds, because anytime that they have a perspective, they look for other people who have that perspective. So the desire to fellowship is there. But when they're not finding themselves in the group that they are in, they isolate. And so a lot of churches who are stuck in traditionalism and religiosity, who don't feel the need to, one, think they should be questioned, or two, have to give an answer when they're questioned, run the risk of losing the young people, which is actually the next generation. Because what you'll see is that a good leader is able to lead, but also to cultivate other leaders.
Mhm.
So when you're dead and gone, do you really value the church, and do you really value the longevity of the church if you do not heed the words of those who are younger than you? Because what's going to happen is, if you're not if you're worried about your title and your position and the people who've just been there and, oh, we're seasoned, we should be honored and respected, if you're not cultivating the next generation, who's going to take over when you're gone? And when you push away their perspectives and don't try to embrace them, then they're going to leave. And also too, it's twofold. There are young people who could take out the time to find a church or ask, God to lead them somewhere, but they are just still focusing on the problem and not looking for the solution. They very well could probably try to find somewhere, or could find somewhere that they like where they could fellowship, and they choose not to, because a lot of people who are hurt and have not healed stick to the hurt and don't focus on the healing, because they have this driving passion to say, well, what about this? And they're not doing this and they're not doing that. So what's
Mhm.
your suggestion? What
What's
are
your
you going
solution?
to do? In the meantime, how are you going to be a trailblazer to activate what you're not seeing, to inspire them to do it? Or maybe you'll catch the attention of someone who's meant to take on your idea and run with it. Or are you just hurt? You know what I'm saying? Do you really want this?
Mhm.
Do what you're suggesting. I really just think young people are innovators everywhere but the church. And I feel like when they are pushed away everywhere else, they create their own thing, except for in the church. And it's interesting to see, but it's hard to really just say whose fault what is.
Mhm.
But it just depends on what they're rejecting. You know what I'm saying? But I
Right.
think that young people should continue to speak up and not forsake trying to fellowship. But I think we're all responsible for each other. It's not just the young people versus old people. We're all accountable for how we fail each other.
Yes, it's almost like a divide, like I said, an age divide, or a generation gap, as they call it. And speaking of divides, we're gonna get into our next subject, which is, the constant men versus women divide, or things that just seems like, okay, we're men bashing women, women bashing men. It's always, we can't get it together. So
Yeah.
what is your perspective on this relationship, or gender war, as we call it, or whatever that we have? What do you see, yourself as a woman in that equation?
So there's a lot of different ways that I can really start this off, but I'm going to give some historical context first.
Okay.
Have to really look at historically what has been ingrained in us on why we view each other the way that we do. And this is I had once read the Willie Lynch letters and the Willie Lynch syndrome. That's something to definitely research if you're not familiar, for anyone that's watching. But buck breaking is a tactic that slave masters would use to basically dehumanize, demasculize, if that's the word, and basically,
Emasculate. Yeah.
so the emas, yeah,
Yeah. I
sorry,
got you. I got you. I'm with you. I'm with you.
but basically to strip the man's power in front of the woman to make him powerless. So a lot of black women, for centuries, have had to watch the black man be less than his potential when it was not his fault. Now, fast forwarding to modern day society, because in the beginning part of my activism, it was kind of the white man, but I'm no longer blaming the white man because now we can unlearn what they have tried to ingrain and take accountability for our own actions.
I
So with
like that. I
that,
like that.
with that being said, there's a lot of factors. Women, I feel as black women, we do not love ourselves enough to honor ourselves enough as queens to see our value, to be careful of how we present ourselves and interact with men. Men also do not value themselves as kings enough to understand how to present themselves and to, in a good and healthy way, interact with women. That can come from not seeing a man in the home, that can come from not seeing a woman in the home, because men are not the only that are absent in the home. Men
Yes.
are not the only parents who can be deadbeats. There are toxic women, toxic femininity, and there is indeed toxic deadbeat mothers. So anyway,
Wait a
um,
minute. Okay, go ahead. No. What
so
is that? We all know what toxic masculinity is.
yeah,
What is toxic femininity?
oh, I love this topic. Toxic femininity is the belief that you can do no wrong. Um because and actually this is where it comes from. Let's just be real. As kids on the playground, our nursery rhyme said girls are made of sugar and spice and everything nice, and boys are made of snakes and snails and puppy dog tails. Or also, girls can't hit boys. I mean, no, boys can't hit girls, or you can't hit her because she's a girl. We have made the mistake in spoiling and indoctrinating the woman to believe that she is blameless and without accountability for her actions towards men. Men experience domestic violence. Men experience manipulation and abuse, both physical and verbal, and mental. And women have been abusers, and toxic femininity is all of that, pretty much.
Okay. And
So,
also women, I guess, not holding each other accountable. You know.
mhm,
Um,
yes. So I think that the divide comes from that. Some men not seeing examples of how to be a man, men not having the outlets necessary to discuss their issues, women having, like I said, not having the examples in the home, not having the examples in the community, thinking that a man is solely just what he can provide and what he can pay for, and being a woman is, all about her sexiness and not so much what she has in her brain. Everybody wants to look good and not think well. So there's a big divide. It's almost as if men and women hate each other because it's always these, these NIGGAs and these BITCHs and all this stuff. It's like,
Hmm.
but you come from a black woman. Both of you do, and you both come from a black man, whether they would believe
Hmm.
it or not. So where's the respect for ourselves and each other?
Yeah, and it goes a lot, once again, it goes back to, once again, the degradation, the
Mhm,
dehumanization of
mhm,
both of us, because
mhm.
it wasn't only the man, who getting abused, the men, well, actually men got raped too, women got raped, you had to sit and watch, the man, and not even slavery times, like, back in the 60s or 50s, like, the sheriff could come in and ask for your daughter, and, if you protested, you would get lynched. So those things are inbred in us, they are passed down, those feelings of, inferiority towards both people, what man wants to look at his wife after, he has no power to, protect her from being taken advantage of. And
Yeah.
then what woman, is going to respect the man who doesn't lay down his life to protect her, but it's understood, so it's a lot to do with that subjugation that still um resides in a lot of ways. But we were talking about standards
Mhm,
before the show. What and I've the guy that was very popular, we talked about him as as well. So, and you had an interesting perspective as a woman from his message. What are some of the things that you took away from and if people who don't know what I'm talking about, I say his name, Kevin Samuels, who was the relationship guru that kind of held women's feet to the fire on a lot of their actions and beliefs. So
mhm.
what are some of your takeaways from his message?
So when I first heard about him, I was like, "Who is this? And why is everybody talking about him?" And so I spent some time listening to some of his videos and stuff like that. But it wasn't until and I saw the outrage, and I think I didn't really notice the outrage until he had made a comment. I think it was referring to women's weight. I believe that's what it was. And so once he passed away, I was not on social media and I was watching, but I was like, okay. And so when I really decided, you know what, let me see what this is about, I listened and I really took in what he was saying, and I saw it completely from a third dimensional side, like completely just 3D from a different perspective. And I was like, okay, so here's some context. I don't really think like a lot of women when it comes to certain things. um in certain behaviors, and I kind of alluded to that earlier, like, I'ma hit you, get in your face, cuss you out, because what you gonna do, and as soon as you do something, I'm crying, and then you go to jail or whatever I say. Yeah, I don't do that anyway.
Okay.
um but I think Kevin Samuels showed us that some women don't
Okay.
like accountability. And so everybody was mad at what he said. Everybody was mad at his delivery. Everybody was mad at it, just was mean. It was rude, and it was this and it was that. And nothing he said, even when he was right, all because his delivery was bad. And I said, but he's starting the conversations that we needed to have about each other, because let's go back to his original point. Black women and women in general who want high value men who are not high value women themselves, or just the fact that women feel entitled to things without having to present things that go along with what they are wanting to be entitled to. And that is the message that
Okay.
I tried to dig through all of the hate to try to pull out. Like, Rita Speaks has been saying this, right? But as soon as I said Kevin Samuels, everything I said was wrong. And I'm like, no, it's Kevin Samuels that you don't like. And so
uh,
I really think that he was trying to say, now granted, oh, he wasn't a high value man himself. I mean, he's just a hypocrite at his finest. How many black women have openly been able to criticize black men, say whatever they want to say? He ain't shit and this, that, and the third, and niggas, the niggas is this, that, and the third, and all this good stuff. And everyone's like, yes, sis, I feel you, cool, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And they don't represent what they saying.
Uh-huh.
But where the woman is allowed to be upset, but the man, Kevin Samuels really was just irony. He was irony. And I say that because, and I don't know how much time we have, but I had one. Remember, I was saying I have something that I had thought of to jot down about why I say Kevin Samuels is irony.
Yeah, go ahead, say that. We got about 4 minutes left on the radio, but
Okay.
we're gonna keep the
So
conversation going.
okay, a couple takeaways from Kevin Samuel. A lot of women want a sugar daddy, not an investor. That's a Rena Speaks quote. I say that because I've seen women say you gotta pay to play. Or, oh, if you ain't trying to get my hair done and my nails done, like how you gonna provide for me? How you gonna do for me? Me, 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 me. You want a sugar daddy, not an investor, because an investor is an asset who also looks for a return in order to continue to be an asset, because you
Mm,
yourself are also an asset. What you require, you should also provide. You want a sugar daddy, not an investor.
I
Um,
like that.
Another point is that we don't get to dictate why someone said what they said, why Kevin said what he said. Because a lot of people were saying he's just a broken man, this, that, and the third. But broken Black women get to speak out of turn where they have no room to talk, and we let her. And some of us have been hollering Niggas ain't shit, and
Mhm,
Niggas. For
mhm,
centuries, women have said that. Some of us being extremely critical of Black men despite our own faults, so much so it's a punchline in your favorite sitcom. And I know my brothers, though they ain't, what we say, some
mhm,
aren't. I know they're tired of hearing it. Men get fat shamed, told they're a 4 out of 10, told they have nothing to offer. On women's platforms, this is what's being said. One
mhm,
Black man says it back, and some of the very women he was and wasn't even talking to got mad. But what we have, some of you knowingly, hold on. But what we have, uh, unknowingly been co-signing before. Um, and I was also saying maybe we can look at Kevin as irony. This was the part I was getting to. And looking at Kevin as a metaphor. Karma in a tragic, hypocritical suit. Kevin Samuels is karma in a hypocritical suit. Here's why.
Alright, okay, I like that.
Has the Black woman ever truly felt good enough? No. But ask yourself, has the Black man ever felt good enough? No. And we rarely talk about it. This is how it feels when the bully who never looked in the mirror gets bullied back by a bully just as trash. And if this doesn't apply to you, you should be more upset at not just how he said it or what he said, but the sad fact that some of what he said was true for some people, and that's the issue. The bigger picture is what I got by observing all of us the moment he spoke, and this is what was revealed to me. And the sad fact is that Black men, for the first time, they had to settle for the hypocrite in a suit because that was the only voice some of them had. And Black
Mm,
men all over the country felt relieved because even though he didn't say it right, at least he said something. And it is sad that the Black man feels like he does not have a voice because he will be criticized for criticizing the Black woman, because the Black woman has played victim when she herself has also contributed to the demise of the Black man.
mm.
Not all women, not all men.
Oh man, that's what you
Right.
got to put that disclaimer
Right.
out there. Yeah,
No,
but
'cause, yeah. So if it
yes,
doesn't apply to you, it doesn't apply to you. But let's just be honest.
yeah, that's an interesting perspective that a lot of people are not willing to say, because it's just that, like you said, that the women have been trained since a little kid, and I think my cousin, another speaker, Allison Denise, said the same thing about women have been trained that they can do no wrong, or they should not do any wrong, and so their first reaction, or their first defense mechanism, is to deny any
Yeah,
wrong, because
yeah,
they've no, we can't do any wrong. What do and they'll deny it to the end. But that's very interesting perspective. The radio show is actually coming to an end, but we're going to stay live on our social media platform. I want to thank Raina Speaks for joining the UTurn radio show 106.9 FM. Thank all of our radio listeners. We'll be back tomorrow with a special show concerning some Winterville law enforcement issues. But we'll be back Awesome Radio 106.9.
Lord, I need you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's a conversation that can go on and on and on. So um when you talk about that and you brought up the social aspect of how our relationships has been affected, um where do you feel that the social aspect is going now? Because you mentioned, like, I think 2 years ago down in Goldsboro, you had the prayer rally in the midst of the George Floyd um death, and the national upheaval that was everywhere, outrage was everywhere. But now things have just gone back to normal. But the things are still happening. The young brother in Cleveland, they got shot 60 times. And, there's so many others that don't make the news. And, I had once again, some issues that were sent to me by this Winterville Police Department. So we had that map, that rally, and everybody came together, and, whites and blacks. But then afterwards, everybody went home and life returned as normal and nothing changed. So where do we go from here?
So every time something happens, I say the same thing. In the beginning, it would be, pretty much chiming in with everybody else. And this is happening, that's happening, we need to do this, we need to do that. And then I noticed a pattern. People are reactive, not proactive. We are on a topic as long as it's trending and everybody's talking about it, as long as there's news coverage. And when the news coverage stops, the trending discussion stops. So do we. We are reactive and not proactive. Um, you're not outraged. You're just upset. And I know that sounds really like, what? Of course we're outraged. We hate it. But true activism is 24/7. And it's very frustrating to see how the rise and fall of people's concern for things come and go, because it proves the fact that we are definitely at the mercy of media and the news and the outlets and the sound waves, because they can get us to talk about what we want to talk about and get us to stop when they want us to stop. And that definitely, goes against being a free thinker, because after they stopped talking about Flint, they still didn't have clean water.
Mm-hmm.
So,
They still don't now, if I'm not mistaken.
I think the last I heard within the last year, and that would put us at about 7 years or more.
They still don't have it.
Yeah. So I think that there's a big issue with that, because you know, I stopped. Nowadays, when something happens, I don't say anything because it's just the same thing. But now my response is infiltrate the system. Be the lawmakers, be the person in the position, become the activist, become the mentor, start to be in the places where you're not seeing the change, because you don't want to vote. You think your vote don't count. Cool. So infiltrate the system, and a lot of people talk about, um having a seat at the table, and if there's not room at the table, I'm gonna create my own table. No, for certain things, yes, create your own table, your own lane. But sometimes, if there's no room at the table, you make them scoot over and you pull up a chair. That's what you have the audacity to do. Also, I think we need to kind of stop, and I hate to sound like I'm just letting things go, but I've come to a point in my activism where we have to admit to who America is and who America has always been. America's not going to change her DNA anytime soon. America has changed her hair, changed her clothes, and even changed her shoes, but her heart has not changed. Unless the system and the Constitution and the structure is dismantled and rebuilt, racism is not going to end. Discrimination is not going to end. It's just not. So, we need to self-educate. Okay, the public school system is going to continue to give us what they want us to know. We have to self-arm. I am the biggest fan of the Black Panther Party movement because they did the one thing other civil rights movements and other civil rights leaders did not, well, decide to do, essentially. Not saying anything's wrong with other people's strategies, but they decided to build their own hospitals since they didn't treat us correctly, build our own schools since they didn't educate us correctly, and since the police didn't protect us, they taught us to protect ourselves. Why are unarmed Black men still getting killed? Because the police are killing them. But why are we still walking around unarmed in our homes? No one. Now let's say you having a good day and you just out and about minding your business, and it's not a police. I really feel super sad about Ahmaud Arbery because he was just going for a run. That wasn't the police. Those were just two white guys. Why are we still unarmed? Get something on your hip. Get something in your house for the moments where you are feeling as though you can control the situation, guard yourself up, take some self-defense classes, and just literally guard yourself up. I'm not saying shoot back, but you know what I'm saying? And I hate to sound so militant, but we just have to come to terms. We ask him, it's literally the bully is gonna be the bully. And that's basically asking the bully, stop hitting me, stop hitting me, stop hitting me. By continuing to go to lawmakers, continuing to make these phone calls, calling these hotlines and these phone lines. These are good things. These are good strategies. We do need to make our voice heard in every way and avenue there is presented to us. However, you're asking the murderer to change its heart about how it feels about murdering you, and to appease you and to silence you, to get you to kind of calm down a little bit. They make tweaks to the system to get us by, because there's a lot of changes. Okay, yeah, slavery, okay, eventually that ended, cool, but then we had to have Jim Crow, but then that ended, right? Okay, and now we have what we have now. We are literally only experiencing different versions of the same thing. That's
Yep.
all it is. We're on a different type of plantation. Nothing stopped. It just changed a little bit.
All right. So
So,
on that note right there, give us that. I'm gonna allow her to read a piece about who America really is. Give me that one real quick. This
so
is
I
super
have
right
a
here.
spoken word piece called "The Illusion of Democracy." And so typically have this memorized, but I'm a little too nervous to try, so I'm gonna read. Okay. The United States is the number one country in the world. Not in education, not health care, or economic equality, but it is number one in the illusion of democracy. It is number one in broken dreams and blood curling screams. It is number one on shining its high beams on frivolous things. It is number one in failed grades and risk to blades. Number one in responsive riots and looting. America is number one in mass shootings. So does that make America number one in dead children? Number one in gun killings and falling buildings, but only in the areas the white men don't care about, because otherwise they'll just gentrify your whereabouts. Number one in doubts. America is number one in the Negro's laceration. America is number one in mass incarceration. We hold these truths to be self-evident, historically evident, statistically evident, that all men are created equal to be a brainwashed people who are mentally feeble, rocking in a cradle of lies and muffling the mother's cries, killing people in prison and calling it suicide. Sandra Bland. Create diseases and then give us false cures, then falsify the data so their solutions look sure, kill us, drop Tulsa bombs, and then tell us to forget, and to fight wars you started. You send our troops on the nicest jets. Can't pay our teachers, but we'll send you this stimulus check. You beat us down for peaceful protests, but let the privileged put on their insurrection Sunday's best. Our debt and downfall is the government's debauchery. This is the illusion of democracy. The The facts I'm dropping, some of you so brainwashed, you're questioning it all. If that's you, then you're a victim of the illusionary fall. You saw it on your TVs, you saw it on your news, and you would still say America not being number one is not true. Well, I hate to inform you, you're ignoring all the proof. Now, either be a voice or pacified like a baby with no say. But with all the freedoms they say we have that others don't today, is it really that much better to be born in the USA?
Nah, it's not. That's man, you hit on so many points right there. I don't know where to start, but yeah, it's yeah. A lot of people would think, that America is a great country, but then when I talk to people from other countries and other research other countries, like, yo, a lot of people don't have those problems. We don't have a lot of these problems that are here. So um that's that's um that's deep. That's deep. That's deep. That's deep. Now, I did want to talk about because I once again there's another post I heard you say about women's in their bodies. The body's my choice, right? First thing I thought about was abortion, but you weren't actually talking about that. You were talking about how people are getting their bodies altered. Right.
Yes.
What have you known about that, and what is your stance on?
So,
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, Felicia Mitchell said that was fire.
oh, thank you.
Felicia Mitchell says you are a powerful powerhouse, and
Thank you.
uh, Francis Howell agreed with what you were saying. So true. So go ahead. I'm sorry about that.
Oh no, you're fine. So around the time that I had heard the post, I'm not heard the post, but had thought of the post, um, we're in a society where everybody's talking about BBLs, right? Everybody's talking about just getting this done and that done, and so I had it actually where the post comes from. Now that I finally remember, I was in the hair salon. And so we as women were talking about different things and just, our health scares and health issues. And so birth control came up. And so some of the women experienced scares, health issues, things of that nature because of how the birth control was affecting their body.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to get it taken out. They had to get it removed because it was literally becoming a detriment to their health.
Definitely.
So that's really where the post came from. And then I kind of just added on the changing our bodies. So I know I talk a lot about, the government, white supremacy, things of that nature, but we have to understand where things come from. Planned Parenthood, please study the origin and
Margaret Sanger,
the founder of Planned Parenthood, please. The attack on our Black children and children in general is not just happening in the streets. There are systems in place that have been intertwined in the medical industry, the medical field, to continue to weaken the public population. One of those is reproductive health. Anything that alters the natural state and natural functions of your body can be dangerous. And birth control is one of those things that is blindly recommended by doctors and given to women who do not research what they put in their body because they are more focused on their preference, more focused on, or just being too reliant on the information that they're given. And suffering for the sake of the outcome that it's supposed to be for. And not to be too, graphic, but women may have irregular cycles, so the birth control regulates it. And irregular cycles are actually, if it's not linked to a health issue and it's just the way yours is, it's actually nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's normal.
And so, putting those chemicals into your body can be very risky. There are a lot of horror stories that the doctors are not telling you about that women have experienced, and thus getting cysts or getting ovarian cancer or getting other things from this birth control. There are other natural ways to go about, feeding your preferences for whatever you need it for. But I just urge women to be more kind to themselves and more vigilant with their bodies, because there's a war going on to kind of at the root hurt our bodies so that we don't reproduce. And also with the whole, big booty, there's just this big hype about the BBLs right now, and they're not showing you the women who are dying on surgery tables, or days and weeks later, or they ended up bleeding internally or having scars and pus and infections from getting these surgeries, because they see and they have this, it's an identity crisis. It's the spirit of comparison. It looks good, it's preferred, and yeah, I know people are saying, "Oh, I just want it because that's how I want to look," but you're not doing it with your own perception. You are influenced, because in the '90s, women, Hillary on Fresh Prince and Nia Long, everybody was pretty much just really, there wasn't lashes and weave and a lot of women look different, and then women wanted to look like that. Then you have Minaj. I call her the pioneer of the Barbie movement. Not blaming her or anything, but when it's what you see, now now everybody kind of looks the same in this generation as it relates to women. So it's really disheartening, how we do not value ourselves and our natural bodies. We don't put in the work in the gym to get the results. We just spend money to do what is preferred by society. So,
So, and speaking with that, with the abortion, overturn, a lot of women were, kind of upset about that. What are your views on that? That abortion issue.
I actually haven't spoken on this, so this is put me on the spot a little bit. Okay, so a lot of people probably gonna be mad at me for this, but there's been like two sides, and I've noticed, and I mean, there's been some Christians who were upset about it. Okay, most Christians are like, good, abortion is murder. We're glad that it's overturned. Let's celebrate. And then there are those Christian and others alike. This is not good, you guys. This is taking away women's rights. Here's my stance. So it's not that simple. It's not. Because we have to look at all scenarios, and all scenarios have to be considered. If you just are, and this is an example that's used a lot, if you're just selfishly not caring about yourself or just out here sleeping with whoever, and you're like, oopsies, I could just go get an abortion, and then you know you're not financially in a place and you're being irresponsible, okay. Well, they say that person doesn't deserve that right. And then everybody uses rape as a reason why it should be allowed, because, oh, that's so hard to live with. A woman should never have to deal with that and have to carry that burden and blah, 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 blah. But sometimes it's as simple as a married woman who has enough money to raise children, gets pregnant, and ends up having a severe pregnancy scare or difficulty or dysfunction to where the doctor has to tell her, if we do not terminate this pregnancy, either you and the baby will die. It's just health situation. The pregnancy has to be terminated for that reason, because the baby is killing the mother from the inside. There are several birth defects that cause this that go undetected in the beginning. That's where Roe versus Wade can become problematic. The women who need the choice, not because of selfishness or something tragic happened to them, but it's literally a medical issue that it happens, because and with some, I've even seen a story where basically the baby was dying from the inside, and because of the disease, had to carry a dead baby to term. That's what we need to focus on. So do I support the overturning or do I not? I really just think we need to be specific about what we're dealing with, and we can't just be that black and white.
Universal. Because of course, I think the health issues and of course, like the rapes and that should be a no-brainer, right? Okay, well, nah, that's understandable. But I don't think that's the more, like I said, I don't think those are the ones that people are really,
Yeah.
talking about. I think it's the ones like the first ones you mentioned. This, well, hey, I can go do this and get a plan B. You know what I'm saying, or whatever. So it's that's a touchy subject, and a lot of people can relate it to once again taking away rights. Period. So that's something we got to be careful with because this government is like you said, it's unrepentant. And speaking of those, like I said, like those sterilizations, just not 50 years ago in Kinston in the 70s, they were sterilizing Black women, without them knowing. There's documentation on that. So once again, we gotta really, know who we're dealing with in this country when it becomes, in reference to us and who we are as human beings and who we are as Black people. So, yeah. So let me see what else I have for you. What else you got? You got any more topics that we didn't cover? No, yeah,
I
okay.
try to be so diverse. I literally can, go anywhere. The only other thing that I had some thought pieces over here about cancel culture and poverty, but like I
Okay,
said, I can talk about anything. So it's
the
just
council
whatever you feel
culture.
like expressing.
So the council culture. Why? Now this is my opinion, because everybody, wants to counsel people for talking about anything. I think we are becoming too sensitive where, we can't address real issues without people getting their feelings hurt. That's my opinion. So what is your opinion on, the council culture and, how it's being used almost in the form of censorship? And I just thought about that.
Yeah. Cancel culture it really just goes to show that people feel that as though they can control someone else's message and someone else's presentation just because they don't like it. And I don't too much care about the world, but when I see Christians participate in cancel culture, I find that very ironic. And one day I had wrote this down. Cancel culture isn't biblical. And besides that, it's not even realistic nor reasonable. And trying to convince others to collectively dislike someone just because you do is how kids bully on a playground. What you don't like, someone loves. Besides, if Jesus supported cancel culture, none of you would be here. You only want grace extended to you, and it does not work like that. That's what I wrote down. But yeah, it's when people were deciding whether or not to participate in the inauguration for Trump, I think it was Chrisette Michelle. She got canceled, and we're not forgiving you for this. We're not forgiving you for that.
What did she do?
I believe it was Chrisette Michelle. She decided to sing the national anthem at the reception for Trump's inauguration. I believe it was.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of celebrities, I think 50 Cent, a lot of Black celebrities were like way back when he first was like about to get elected or got elected. People were going to go meet with him, and a lot of Black people were like, "Why y'all going to go meet with him? Why y'all participate? Why y'all this? Why y'all that? Cancel, cancel, cancel." And I'm just like, you know, I often think, if I ever come to a peak in my career, will I be canceled? They can try it, but it's kind of just like, for what? You know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's kind of just dumb.
Once you self-made, nobody can cancel you.
Right.
Once you self-made, nobody can cancel you. But
Right.
I do. So what is, because you spoke about politics and voting earlier. So what is your opinion of the Trump thing, and how a lot of people looked at him as like he was the cause of American racism, but as we studied this history a long time ago, like this is just words are not the problem. His racist comments or whatever are not the problem. I don't know. What do you think about the outrage because of who he was and how he spoke?
I can see Trump as one of the greatest metaphors for America's true character. A lot of presidents before him were a little more clean cut and sophisticated. They might have had their scandals and things like that, and I mean, we can't go back too far. I mean, George Washington, they were slave owners. So I think maybe like the 60s on down. So
Uh,
I, present themselves well, speaking well, good PR. And Trump kind of just said whatever, did whatever, didn't know what he was doing, was pretty belligerent and ignorant, acted out of character, just handled himself unprofessionally. And I
mhm,
think the irony of Trump is that if you took the sophistication, the political correctness, and the mask and suit and tie off of America, Trump is what that would look like. Very much out of control. Um, but um, now I'm not gonna say he didn't do anything well. I didn't really. I wasn't attentive to what policies and contracts and forms that he signed. Employment and some things like that people would say was better during his time, but
mhm,
he did definitely incite uh a little bit of a civil war. He definitely did infuse um hidden in plain sight white supremacy, and kind of
mhm,
gave a voice to people to outwardly express very much more aggressively their discrimination. And so I think what's also hilarious, and I don't mean that in an insensitive way, but the insurrection, I find very interesting how those people were able to do that, and it did not get treated with half of the seriousness of if black and brown people stormed the Capitol.
yeah, they
I
just got
got
flash on the list.
up in there when really, if it was anything else, bullets sprayed everywhere, bodies everywhere. They did not protect the Capitol with their lives, and
Mhm,
I was super disheartened. But you gotta know organized crime when you see it.
mhm,
Is not as these people decided to do this. They had friends on the inside. I am a conspiracy theorist. That was a government structured, facilitated attack.
yeah,
Because ain't no way. No.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That don't happen. Like that don't happen. I think there's video of people, showing police officers letting the people in. Like, come this way, come this way. So
Yeah.
it's that's so how much stake do you put in the political sector? How much stake do you because I know you said you mentioned some people not believing that their vote doesn't count, and
Hmm.
I'm understanding of you know that mindset.
Hmm.
But what do you? How much stake do you put in the political?
Most people, like me, would say they don't like politics, but I actually am. I'm not opposed to politics. It's bothersome because it's very divisive, but
Mm,
I allowed myself not to be separated from it. During my time in Goldsboro, I worked closely with local politicians, helping campaigns. I also, had people ask me when I would run for an office, and I was just like, I don't know. And I actually had interest in running for an office. So I had political aspirations, even though I probably wouldn't have fit in well as an activist. But I knew how to kind of really be a chameleon in that type of
yeah,
environment.
mm-hmm.
But I it's really hard to it's really hard to put a pin in national politics because it's not as transparent. So I always say Washington D.C. and what happens in Congress and the Senate is hard to pinpoint, but I always urge people, if you take interest in politics anywhere, take it in local politics. Your
Mm-hmm.
school board, your mayor, your city managers, your city council, those committees, you have got to pay attention. Like the governor on down, at least take interest in that because they're in your backyard. They go to your grocery stores. They know your cousins, your aunts, your uncles. You can shake their hands and meet them on a regular day and talk to them. Your local politicians, they are an open door and there's more transparency. So if you want your vote to count, I can't speak for DC. I can't speak for, the presidential election. There's a lot of conspiracy behind that the further up you go. But please put your vote in the local politics, because that is, at least you can see what's happening and what's not in your community and in your backyard and in your schools. And the city hall meetings are there for you to attend. And I think that that's that open door that leads to a little bit more inclusivity and understanding when it comes to politics as a whole.
Okay. And you mentioned poverty, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So what do you think about poverty, and are there any solutions?
So poverty is a big, big, big issue globally, and definitely city of Goldsboro. And so I had I guess, an epiphany one day, and so this is what I wrote down. Um, so eradicating poverty altogether has nothing to do with giving people money, but it is to change the perspective that most people don't just need help, but they need resources.
Mhm.
um, and their perspective. There are two types of people. You can give to people. You can give to these two types of people the same $1 million. One who has financial literacy can grow it, turn it into wealth, use it wisely. But one who does not and is not properly educated will blow it. And I think the issue is that we have to instill financial literacy, wisdom, and priorities, and get those in line so that people can understand the basic foundations of budgeting, saving, and investing. Excuse me, so that the two different people can have the same opportunities with the same $1 million. And so I think that if we do not educate financial literacy, investing, saving, budgeting, and healthy financial habits, we'll never be able to eradicate poverty. It's good that the government and all these places and people give resources, and granted, some resources people just do not take. But education is the key to eradicating poverty, because, like I said, you can give a person a house, but without the proper education, they'll end up burning it down. So it's not just what we give, but teaching people how to use what we're giving. Because there's people who aren't in poverty and do not have financial literacy and are going to remain stuck in the working class or the middle class or whatever class they're in because of the money that they do have. They don't understand the wealth behind time and the time behind wealth, um,
Okay.
and how to elevate themselves. Because honestly, as long as you are in a class, you're going to be owned by those who have more than you. And so one thing that I've learned, being around people who are learning about wealth, they read a lot of books, listen to a lot of podcasts and audios, and do a lot of research. And they have to change their perspective, even down to how they wake up in the morning and how they spend their day. And until you are able to change your perspective, you cannot change poverty.
Yes, because I mean, Goldsboro, I see it's a lot of poverty, but one thing I always see, and I never knew this till last year, like people are actually staying in the woods. I don't know if you know.
Yeah. Actually, I did that myself. Funny story. Um, I don't know if you've seen over the last 2 years. This young man, he goes around cleaning people. He would go around cleaning people's windows and stuff. Um,
Is he does he have an amputee?
mm-mm.
Because I seen one at Walmart the other day, but
Yeah.
I see a lot of them cleaning windows and headlights.
Yeah. Well, there was one particular day I had to help them out, and so I went in the Arby's, and I was like, yeah, I'll grab you some. And it took a long time, so when I had came outside with my friend, he was gone. And so my friend, he had specialized in homeless education, so he was like, I know where to find them. So I'm just following him, and we're walking behind the shopping stores and shopping centers in the woods, and we found him and a few other people behind a dumpster. And that was the first time I seen homelessness in Goldsboro, um, like that. Like, I see them, but at night, like as far as where they go, I hadn't seen it that close. So yeah, it's definitely a problem.
Yeah, it's definitely a problem. So, and it's just the hypocrisy, like you said in your piece about, we beautifying all these places, like we beautifying the downtown. You know what I mean? We were spending money on, you know, on this appearance, but
Mhm.
the people, like, literally, like, when the trees start falling off, when the leaves start falling off the limbs, like, you can ride down Roy and see, like, them back there with tents and everything. So
Mhm.
that was kind of heartbreaking to me. So
Yeah.
that's definitely something that's a once again, like you mentioned, activism is a 24/7 fight. It's always an issue to to address, and sometimes it's not easy. So I want to commend you, first of all, for stepping up and being a voice to so many people. So before we go, you got to give me that last piece real quick.
Oh. Okay.
You brought another treat real quick.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. So, just some context. By default, because I'm a woman, I'm expected to do women's empowerment, which of course, I will. However, I noticed that there is a lack of platforms for men in contrast to women, particularly Black men. If you look and see every day, there's always a women's empowerment conference, brunch, concert, seminar, workshop, church service, even for the little girls. There's always something. And for men, you get the barbershop, the locker room, you might have one event, and you might just go out with your homies. And if there are people with platforms, a lot of men such as Derek Jackson or Steven Speaks Relationships, these are very popular Black couples with platforms, and they talk about women all day long. They talk about, this is how you know he don't love you, and that's their platform. They
Yeah,
capitalize off of women's vulnerability. And so I decided to publicly acknowledge Black male empowerment as my main focus. So this is where that and a lot of what I talk about comes from. Being a Black woman has become a lost art. Not because some of you would rather be Kim Kardashians instead of Kim Reese because you prefer a different world. And not because you'd rather keep up with the Joneses than the Jeffersons because moving on up ain't good enough no more because it doesn't give you enough likes on IG. Being a Black woman has become a lost art because too many Black women have failed to play their part. You've become the Black man's new Grim Reaper, asking with a confused tone, am I my brother's keeper? I've come to urgently urge the critical criticism of the other oppressor. For the Black men who have not been loved correctly when you deserve to, this is for you. I'm making a sonic boom out of your silent abuse because the white man is not the only one who has left you accused. We've sung the same sad song for generations about deadbeat daddies and women being treated badly, yet too many women who are narcissistic have assisted the system in robbing our brothers of their innocence, their livelihood, their image. When will the damsel in distress be accountable for the demise of the man? When are we going to talk about deadbeat mothers and toxic girl syndrome? Today. Child support has put just as many Black men in cops and has drained him, also known as his emotions. Putting your hands on him because I'm a girl, he can't hit me back. This grow up, how whack is that? Or F that NIGGA who ain't seen his kids. Well, sis, you the one being petty, keeping him from them. I'ma make him suffer. You can't see your child because I said so. That's exactly what slave masters told Black men after they separated their families to be sold. And now your child suffers. Why won't daddy see me when mommy is the broken record like a master on repeat? We go and give men tools, tell him to provide, say be safe in these streets when you go outside. He spent all day dodging the oppressor just to come home to one, an in-house war zone where he can't love his own. Now, key point we all love. The Black woman is the most hated and abused there is, but she is not exempt from being the executioner of her own. We cry and protest when the unarmed Black man is killed, but let's be real. Let's be real. We say his life matters, but how many Black lives have you shattered? I'm calling you out. Being a Black woman has become a lost art because too many Black women have failed to play their part. I carry the burden of my brother. They getting persecuted like Paul. I'm a Black woman, so who else gonna be your head? load sharer. So I read and reread Paul's letters, carrying you out like a pallbearer, because I'll always be Paul's bearer.
All right. Go off, Cuzzo. Go off, Cuzzo. Jessica
I
Atkins is
almost
so
messed
go
up
off.
a few times.
Yeah, but that's wow. Yeah, so
Okay, Jessica. Got some family up here. Woo.
yeah, man, yeah, that's very, very introspective, very brave too, because
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
One
man.
thing about that, and I do have to say this, um, if anybody out there or you, when I first came back to social media, I had talked about how just the things that I went through, um and how there was a time in my life where a group of people that I trusted poetically, who were poet friends of mine, and I had said that I was accused of stealing content and stealing words and things of that nature. That was
Okay.
the poem that I was accused of. And so that message is mine. That content is mine. Those words are mine, because this is something that's near and dear to my heart that I'm passionate about. So I was proud to be able to do that piece, because that piece has been under attack. And but
Who were you supposed to steal it from? I mean, if you
a
don't
group
want
of
to get into
poets
it.
that I was working with, I really feel like, at that time, someone was just looking for a reason to knock me down. And so I think they know me well. I'm very different when it comes to my poetry, and I'm one of the few, and maybe one of the only that touches on that topic. So to say that it was stolen when it's quite unique and original. But anywho, that's
Mm,
why I was very proud to share it, because I defend it with my life, because it's
thank
definitely
you.
something that I had to really regain the confidence to recite. Another thing that helps me sleep at night, every time I do that piece or piece similar in topic, after every performance, more than one black man shakes my hand and tells me thank you. And the very first time I did that poem after being accused, a 70, probably 80-year-old black man approached me and told me thank you, because of the time when he was a young cat in the streets. He dealt with a woman that kept him away from his child. Now, as a result, that young lady who was a baby then is now older and upset with him for something that the mother did. And he thanked me because he felt like in all his 80 something years, he finally heard someone tell his side of the story. So
Hmm.
this is why I do what I do and I say what I say, and I keep reciting that particular poem, because it's needed. And
Yeah,
to get a hug or a shake hand from a black man you've never met means the world to me, and no one can take that away. No one.
now that's powerful. And then, like Felicia Mitchell said, that thank you was necessary, which it is. Like I commend you for that. And one last question, because I know it's getting late, but
Mhm.
you mentioned that you had just came back to social media, and I used to do that a lot. Is there any reason why that you unplug, or you just go
Um,
away for a while?
yeah, so at that time, so I last July, I left Goldsboro, didn't tell nobody, and I moved for a job in another city. And so for a good while, I was still around and on social media, and my life took a turn around about October, November, and then December, my car had went out, my engine went out in my car. It was a lot of just domino effects that started to kind of reignite some depression. And also too, I had and back to last July also was when my birthday is, and I had turned 27, and it was the year of Karina. That was when it clicked for me. Karina was bullied. Karina was overlooked and not embraced. But everybody loves Rena Speaks. And I realized I can't keep separating the two and allowing Rena Speaks to compensate for Karina. I need to be Karina, find out who she is, love her, and bring the medley of the two together, because Rena Speaks is me, but she is a result of Karina's brokenness, but I could not leave Karina broken. So by the time, back from July, fast forward into December, it started to really hit to where I didn't want to talk. I didn't speak. I didn't want to perform. I wanted to just be me. And also because being in Goldsboro, I was so involved in the community. My phone was ringing, doing voter registration drives, people calling on me. It felt good to be somewhere nobody knew me and nobody needed me. It was calling on me, and I enjoyed the silence. So I unplugged from December all the way to what was it, July 1st. 7 months I was gone so that I could be Karina, and now I'm back. And a lot of the things I talk about now, I wanted to talk about before, but I didn't allow myself to be fully confident in my message. So, because I was afraid of what people would think and how they would take me and how they receive me. So the whole time I was unplugged for those 7 months, I'm like, man, when I come back, people ain't gonna like me. People ain't gonna like this. People are just gonna be like, you've changed, you've different. Your hair is orange now, like. But I say, you know what? It's time to come back and say the things I really want to say. Rena Speaks was always authentic and true to herself and her message, but it was always at the surface. And now I want to go deep and be controversial as I want to be for the sake of change, not chaos. So,
So,
yeah.
and you mentioned depression again. So that's very brave of you once again to talk about that. A lot of people are not willing to admit, hey, I
Mm-hmm.
was down. Things happened that got me down. So, how important it is that? And have you ever, because I know this is taboo too. I haven't done it either, but have you ever talked to anybody like as far as therapy or counseling and things like that?
So not yet. I have friends that I talk to. Every friend is different. Some friends give me the tough love. Some friends will give me the soft touch. Some will tell it like it is. But I have considered therapy, and so when the time is right, and I find someone that I think, and that's just me. It's preferred that I will be looking for a Black female therapist, just for
Mm,
the relatability and the
yeah.
cultural relevance. But I will be going at some point to experience how that can definitely help my life. So I encourage therapy, counseling, support groups. Definitely don't ever hide, don't ever sweep things under the rug or be silent. Talk to someone and seek professional guidance. There's nothing wrong with it. There's resources for everything. And if we looked at mental health the way we do physical health, we go to the dentist when our tooth aches, we go to the podiatrist when our foot hurts, and we go to the brain doctor or heart doctor for everything
Mm.
else. There's people for the mind and the emotions and all of that. So mental health is wealth.
Health is wealth, definitely. One last question, I promise, because I did see a video where you was talking about the family reunion, right?
Mm.
And you said
Oh yeah.
you didn't you didn't know you reached the age when people when people like, are you getting mad now? I'm a little bit older than you, but I get that too, right? So how do you feel pressured? Like, do you feel bullied into just jumping into something and starting a life because everybody feels like you should have one by now?
So part of part of me learning how to go against the grain of society is also realizing that the age of 30 is not a deadline, and I have freed myself from that belief and stigma that I am running out of time and that I have to rush, and that it's just this big thing to get everything done. Because I've seen a lot of people rush, get divorced, end up unhappy because they're trying to please people, or correct a mistake, or and I refuse. I refuse to settle. I have been blessed to watch in the home a good example. My parents have been married for 36 years.
Okay.
And
Black love.
I've seen healthy relationships. And this isn't to brag or boast, but we have to talk about it because people think the Huxtables do not exist. There are men who don't step out. There are papas who are not rolling stones. There are Black families who don't have secret families, and there are Black mamas who ain't crying at night. And I'm thankful for my parents. And I am, a unicorn. What I saw is what I'm seeking, and people think I'm crazy because men are ingrained to cheat and infidelity is inevitable, and I refuse to believe that. So I am waiting patiently. I'm in no rush because I would rather be happy than hurt. So I am taking my time, and I will still have my 5+ kids and still adopt and be a foster parent and save all the children in America with my Black by my side. I don't care if I'm walking into their first day of kindergarten at 45. I'm taking my time, okay? I don't feel
Definitely.
pressure, but I'm like, I've never had those questions, and I'm like, okay, last family reunion, y'all didn't ask me this.
Yeah,
Am I
your clock is
somebody
ticking. Your
I
clock
gotta
is
bring somebody to the reunion next year. They're gonna be on my head.
yeah, because I think it was about 2 birthdays ago. So my daddy asked me, he took me out to eat, and he asked me, "You ever thought about getting married?" I said, "Yeah, I think about it all the time, but
Right.
I just don't want to get married because and then just be miserable because, like
Right.
you said, I've seen horror stories. I hear horror stories. I still hear horror stories now from friends and just people I know who going through it,
Yeah.
because they felt then, and I'm like you, like my father, mother still married. I saw that, I
Mhm.
saw that every night home,
Mhm.
like my dad was never out, never a
Mhm.
woman calling the house, never mama looking for it. Where he at? No, it was all,
Mhm.
so I see that, and that's what, I see, I seek as well. But again, like everybody doesn't believe that. Everybody, we're gonna argue. We're gonna you don't have problems. You don't have to have problems.
Yeah.
You don't have to be at each other's throats or
Yeah.
in competition with each other. So I definitely understand you on that, but that was just so funny to me when I saw it. I had to bring that up too. I said I
Yeah.
wrote that down on my questions, but
I think what's important is what you do while you wait. Are you healing? Are you trying to be your best self? Are you building your end of the empire? So that when you do meet that person, they're not helping you clear out baggage that you have plenty of time to clear. So it's like, all right, let's just work on myself and just keep working on myself. The work never stops. So just trying to
yeah.
enjoy my life, and because once you get married and have kids, that's it. You're not an individual. You're a united front. So yeah.
All right. I gotta ask this last question. I promise. Patrick said, "Hello, everyone. Sorry,
Hello,
just appreciate you,
Patrick.
Patrick. Man, appreciate y'all too, Felicia, for everybody watching, Jessica, all of y'all, Miss Howard, Letter. So I mentioned you said you will not settle, right? And I think we talked about a little bit about this before the show. About I hear that from a lot of women. We're not going to settle, or we have standards, and whatever. So, what does that mean? What
Um,
does settling mean? What does having standards? I will not lower my standards mean in your perspective, or
yeah.
in,
I I don't really care about what a lot of people care about. It's nice for a man to have money, but I want to make sure I have my own. And what I want to make sure I'm not settling is how he can cultivate me and help me build and fuel my dreams and ideas and aspirations and help cultivate my relationship with God and be able to not only love me physically but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. So me not settling means that go ahead,
hello,
take your call. Take your phone call.
hello, yes, sir. Yeah, this is the radio station. All right, hold on real quick. Let's see. Can you hear me? Hold on. Let me see. He called me. Hello? Yeah, maybe he'll call back. But
Okay.
um yeah, because we on the air. We're not on the air no more on the radio show. So
Oh,
what I had to do, I should have just put him on speakerphone. But maybe he'll call back.
okay.
But what was I about to ask you?
Yeah, I was
Um,
saying about settling, like why
oh
am
yeah,
I?
yeah, okay, my fault. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're good. But yeah, me, I, a lot of people want to be loved without accountability or growth. And so, love and relationships have just been watered down to just being in someone's company and not understanding the investment and the partnership behind it. So I can't settle for just the good feeling and the good words. I am a woman of purpose, and I have to have a purpose mate, someone who can speak my language, as far as my ambitions and my goals and things of that nature. So, you know Yeah, it's not just about money, or settling about, oh, this, that, and the third. Oh, you gotta have a job and make this amount and do all of this and do all of that. Because, it just depends on you and what you can also bring to the table. Because a lot of women want a finished product while they're still developing, and I think that's unfair. And then, nobody talks about the man settling. And so, but I personally just want to make sure that I am 100% in tune with that person, because I know where I'm going in life, and that cannot be compromised. So yeah.
Okay, but I agree. Okay, I like that as far as settling as what you want. Let's see what we have here. Hello, hello.
Hey, I was just calling back.
All right, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, can you? Yeah, we can hear you now. I'm sorry about that.
Okay. So is this a live or?
You live. You live on our face. Can you hear him, Rena?
Yes.
All right, yeah. So yeah, you live.
Okay. So I just wanted to fill in, like, give a male perspective on what you guys are saying there. Like, I love everything you guys are saying first and foremost. Um, but I also want to interject that sometimes we think something can be settled, and it actually can be, but we have to understand that we are in contact with another human being, and sometimes that investment takes understanding and wisdom. So you may have to teach things to other people and help them grow. That's I'm a firm believer in that God has relationships. So sometimes He'll cause us new people to bring out those things that. The only thing that I don't agree with is that sometimes it's a common thing for it only to be the women that are doing that. Now, I believe that it should be both ways. That if someone's growing together, if someone's taking time to invest into each other, and if someone's thinking about being committed or marriage relationship, then you're going to have like conflict. Things are going to come up, but we have to understand that if we're meant for someone, we are graced for that person. That means we're able to tolerate that person. Some things we're not going to like, and some things we're going to like. But we have to find a place where how do we deal with what we don't like about each other, and then figure out, okay, is this something I can put up with? If it never changed, is it something that I can put up with? And that is the piece that helps people learn to stay together. Like, these are practical things that people do with the marriages. Because when you get married, you're going to learn something new. You're not going to know the person completely, but we have to know, like, okay, so I figured out another piece of the person. Okay, how do I help this person navigate through it? And how do they help me navigate through something they may not like about me? And it goes both ways. That's a life partner.
Hey, and I appreciate that perspective, brother. What's your name? Derek.
Darius.
Oh, Derek. I appreciate that perspective, man, and I give Rena a chance to respond as well. But that's kind of my thing too, because you never know. Like, just an example, like, a woman may say, I need a man making $150,000, and she may look over the guy who works for the city and makes $50,000, but he's good with money. He has a business plan, so he might need her to, kind of push him, or not even push him, but like, he just to connect with him in some way. Like, he's already on that path, but because we have this idea in our mind that, okay, we have to have a dollar amount, or he has to be such and such, where we miss the person who, once again, we can cultivate them in that into that person we want, and so much more. And that goes for men and women. Like, men can have an idea of a woman, oh, this woman is not such. And I always use, once again, my mother and father as an example. Like, they got married at 17 and 19. Neither of them had anything. They stayed in the projects. but they built up to themselves today where they were able to, start businesses, start churches, put 3 kids through college, and on and on. But they didn't go into it with, okay, well, you need to be this before I can be with you. But that's my perception on it. Go ahead, Randall.
I definitely agree with what the gentleman said. Um, you have to find someone that can understand not only your good but also your bad and your ugly. Because the person you're with is supposed to be your mirror. They're supposed to not only be a reflection of you but show you what you miss or do not see within yourself. Because they are the perspective of you outside of you. So they're supposed to be that mirror. So I think what's important is knowing who is your assignment and who's not, because along the way to finding the one, a woman like me who is a cheerleader, an encourager, and a pusher, not every man can receive it, and some do. And it just depends on knowing when it's your assignment and when it's not. So when you find that person who responds well to the purpose in your voice, responds well to your accountability, to your encouragement, to your inspiration, to your push, and they're ready to receive it and apply it, it makes it easier to feel like you're not settling while also understanding patience for them to get to that place that they're in. So a lot of people make the mistake of pushing a person who doesn't want to be pushed just because they see the potential, just because they see the possibility, they take that and they end up pushing a person who doesn't have any forward motion. And that's when the settling becomes when they say, you know what, I give you the grace to grow, but now I'm giving you the grace and there's no growth. So then, but when you do find the person, the purpose mate, you'll know you're not just tolerating and for no reason. It's not fruitless, it's not in vain. Because everybody's gonna have something about them, including me, that somebody's not gonna like, but you love them despite of, and that's the whole point of a relationship, supposed to be reflecting the love we receive from God. A unconditional love,
Yeah.
a love that transcends the good and the bad. Because I always say, you don't just look for a person who's good for you now, but they have to transcend time. Are you
Mm.
going to love the version of me that I will be in 10 years and in 20 years? Because I'm not even who I was 5 years ago. Can
That's
you transcend time? So
mm.
definitely know who and what is your assignment. Because I've been there. When I decided to try to go outside and did not, be with a church guy, and I tried a hood guy. He had been in trouble, but I believed in him. He said he grow, but I ended up seeing that he didn't want to grow. He said he was never going back to jail. We stopped talking. I had heard not too long ago he's back in there. I planted a seed, and I'm confident in what I encouraged. But until he's ready to apply it, it's no longer my assignment. But when you
Yeah.
find a person, you love them unconditionally, you love them hard, and you love them with grace, and you deal with what you are assigned to deal with. And it takes God to know what that is and who that is. So I agree. Thank you for calling in and chiming in. I feel special. We got a caller, y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Darius. Appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you guys too, man.
All right, you have a blessed day too.
Bye.
All right. Love, Tavares Best says, love should overpower stipulations. In today's world, both parties go into the marriage with stipulations. And then when they aren't met, the problems start. I agree. Like she said, love is unconditional. Real love. That's why our parents stay together. They put aside their stipulations and they just love. Hey, I couldn't have said it better. Uh, that's it. Just love. Like there's no, you have to do this, you have to be that. Yeah, that's great. I loved it when he said, ask God to grace you for the person he sends. And that's true too, because some things we not gonna like. Some things, some people are gonna push those buttons, but you gotta say, can you deal with that? Is this something that you can recognize? Okay, well, look, this is who I love. This is what I want to have to deal with. And that's that. But and then the problem arises. Okay, well, if you tell them that, and you say, okay, well, this is what I don't like, then is the person obligated to change? Does the person try to change that? So there's so many levels to making a relationship work, and I'm just speculating here because I'm not married, and you know, um, I've watched the marriage grow though, and I know some people who married who, once again, this is it's a constant power struggle. So that's something I do not want to involve myself in. When you're talking about marriage and happiness and peace and comfort and grace and all those things. So
We got another caller.
that's a Facebook thing.
Oh, okay. I was like, that don't sound like Facebook Messenger. I'm about to say.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm gonna let you go because thank you guys, and yeah, let people know how to get in touch with you if they need your services for speaking or poetry or anything activism related.
Yes, I am on Facebook. I am in the comment section. Karina Atkinson, which is how it's spelled on the screen. My email I also just put in the comment section. Rena speaks for you, the number for the letter U at Gmail. That is one way to contact me, or Facebook Messenger. You can follow me on my personal page, Karina Atkinson. I also have a public page, Rena Speaks, spelled as you see on the screen. So I am available for booking for spoken word, for panel discussions, event host, motivational keynote speaker. I do men's, women's, and youth empowerment. So yeah, I'm diverse on topics. So if it's a topic that you haven't heard and you're wondering if it's something I can touch on, reach out to me. I would love to talk about it all. I get booked the most for poetry and spoken word, but I would love to do more panel discussions, interviews, open discussions, and motivational keynote speaking. And also, I'm a speech writer. So I would love to, be
Okay.
at your event and you have a theme and you want someone that can come and sort of like a TED talk. I would love to definitely operate more in that vein. So I will be more than happy to come. I'm excited. And once you email me, like I said, the booking details, try to handle things as professionally as possible. So I would love to communicate and also collaborate. We do nothing in this world alone. We succeed nowhere at any point in time alone. So I would love to collaborate through photography, through just anything that's creative. So I have so many things to offer. Um, Creative, branding, consulting, marketing, just, hit me up. So yeah, we can
Yeah,
talk about anything. I would love to meet you all and looking forward to it.
definitely. Keep making an impact, beautiful. May God bless you in abundance. That's from Felicia Mitchell.
Thank
Definitely.
you so
If y'all
much.
haven't if y'all haven't, heard her two pieces, y'all go back and watch the video, either here or on YouTube, and also, just her talking points that she wrote down. So I can see her being a speaker at several events, and I don't think there's a topic that you might can handle that she doesn't have some insight on. So once again, we want to thank Karina Arena Speaks for joining us tonight. Thank all of our family who joins us on a weekly basis: Felicia, Tavares, Christy, Patrick, Jessica, Francis Howell, Aletta Taylor, and Miss Atkinson, Joanne. Everybody who's watched the show and comment, I appreciate
Thank
y'all for
you.
um,
Thank
tuning in. And we will have another show, a special show tomorrow. There's a young man who was, stopped and detained here in Winterville, North Carolina. And him and his mother are going to, come on the show and tell their story about what happened because the police chief here in Winterville, he went to social media instead of addressing their complaint. So that's a whole other topic that we're going to talk about tomorrow. But once again, it's been a pleasure to have Karina.
you.
Is there anything else that you want to leave our audience before we go?
I end every one of my live streams the same way, and this is my quote that I say to end, to leave you all with: love thyself, know thyself, be thyself, but first you must know thyself in order to love thyself, because you can't love what you don't know in order to be.
Okay. All right. Now that's hers now. I don't want nobody else using that. Now that's hers. But I definitely want to thank y'all, man. I'm going to say a quick prayer, Lord. We thank you for this day. We thank you for this time of fellowship. We ask, oh Father, Lord, that you will bless each individual who has listened to this program. And oh, Father, let our words be edifying and beneficial to the people and to your kingdom for our lives. Lord, we ask you to continue to bless Miss Karina and everything that she does. Let it be prosperous and according to your will for our life. And we thank you for this opportunity once again. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed myself. Thank you.
All right, this won't be the last time, though. This definitely won't be the last time. We're gonna have you on again. But I thank you guys for checking in with us. Y'all have a blessed day and good night.
Good night.